But now, while Great Britain this week set himself the challenge of completing a random act of kindness every day, and for almost 2 years he hasn't looked back. 19-year-old Sebbie Hall understands the difficulties faced by disabled people, and on top of putting smiles on faces day to day, his charity, the Sebbie Hall Kindness Foundation, has been funding incredible projects for others with learning disabilities. Sebbie makes a point of saying kindness is my superpower. That's very nice. And I'm delighted that Sebbie and his mum, Ashley, join me now. I must say, you look fabulous, both of you. Thank you very much for coming in to the studio. Now, tell me a bit about this new foundation.
So, Sebbie, what's the foundation called? Can you tell Emily? The
Sebbie Hall Kindness Foundation.
Well done, the Sebbie Hall Kindness Foundation. And about 3 years ago, Sebbie wanted to do a random act of kindness for a friend to buy him a laptop because he was isolated when the schools closed.
Yeah.
So Sebbie said he wanted to buy him one. Obviously, you can't just buy people things, and so he said he wanted to do something to raise money for charity. So said he could be
kind.
Could be kind. So Sebbie did
100 acts of kindness.
100 acts of kindness in how many days, Sebbie?
10 days.
10 days. And people in our village saw him doing these random acts of kindness, and within a week he'd raised £1,000. And then carried on.
In just 1 week?
In just 1 week.
Well done.
Yeah.
And bought his friend the laptop. His friend's got disabilities and couldn't use mainstream equipment, so it was an adapted laptop. And since then, Sebbie loved it so much that you've continued. And how many years have you been doing a random act of kindness for, Sebbie? 3?
3
years. And how much money have you raised this year?
£45,000.
And who are you raising the money for, Sebs?
Lonely kids.
Lonely kids. Who are lonely because of
disadvantage.
which means they don't have so much money, or
disabled.
So disabled kids. So the organisations that Sebbie's helped work on projects to prevent isolation in disadvantaged or disabled young people. So that's
really lovely,
started.
because when we talk about loneliness, often we talk about the elderly. It's usually confined to that when we're talking about loneliness. But of course, for young disabled children, disadvantaged children in general, it's obviously a massive issue and something that goes unseen. People don't always know someone's feeling lonely, do they?
No, and I think when lockdown lifted, it highlighted that this cohort of people are still actually in isolation and lockdown. So, you know, if you can't read or write, then you can't text. If you don't have a smart device, you can't do it anyway. And so although everybody else got back out there, Sebbie highlighted an area of people that were isolated, so wanted to continue the acts of kindness, which is what he's done for the last 3 years.
Well, I was just saying in the break there how you've got a Facebook page which shows everything that you've been doing, and it really is very heartwarming to see all the activities you've been doing. Now, I want to introduce Neil Oliver to this conversation. I know he wants to speak to you very much, so let's bring him in now. There he is. Neil.
It's lovely to see you both again. Lovely to see you, Sebbie. I remember you very well as one of my Great Britons from last year. I was thinking about the loneliness you were describing there, and you know, Christmas is can be a wonderful time for a lot of people, but it can also be a difficult time for a lot of people. And I wondered what were the acts of kindness that you thought about during the Christmas period and looking ahead to New Year.
It's nice to see you again. I think we came on a Zoom, didn't we, with Neil before, didn't we? What have you been doing over Christmas?
That's right.
Making people
Warm.
Sebbie said he wanted to make cold people warm. So Sebbie's been working with handing out warm blankets to homeless shelters. Not so much homeless people, because we were told, and we learnt very quickly, that homeless people, he's been handing out some foil blankets to them because sort of fluffy blankets will get cold and wet. So shelters, Sebbie was there on Christmas Eve this year, working with Crisis. And also, what else have you been doing at Christmas? At the theatre, Seb, set up a bursary, which means for the next 3 years, Sebbie's giving money to the theatres to families to help them with the
money.
To see the
A panto.
Pantomimes, because Sebbie loves the pantomime, don't you? So, so this Christmas it's been about setting up theatre bursaries and working with cold people, making cold people warm. And our local round table organisation heard about Sebbie's acts of kindness and donated the finances to go and buy 200 blankets so that they got involved as well. So it's lovely, and it's almost like one act of kindness leads to another and people hear about it and then continue. So this year, it's been fabulous, the amount of people that Sebbie's met who then feed on the kindness to somebody else. So it makes everybody feel warm.
I love the idea that it began as something that was just going to be for a short period of time, just a fundraiser, but that you've found it almost impossible to stop. And I wonder, actually, in a very positive sense, how long you'll keep going with this. Will Sebbie be performing acts of kindness forever now? Is it a perpetual act that will go on and on?
Are you going to keep going, Sebbie?
Yeah.
Why do you want to keep going? How do you want to make people feel?
Happy inside.
Happy inside. So each Christmas over the last 3 years, we've thought, OK, well, will you carry on? And there was a time when Sebbie was sort of saying, oh, if I don't do a random act of kindness, somebody might be sad. So it was a little bit of explaining that even if just because you don't do the act of kindness doesn't make people sad. And what's happened I think the more Sebbie does, the more people come out of the woodwork and start helping, and one thing leads to another. It happened with Ukraine. Sebbie wanted to make all the children in the Ukraine feel happy inside, and we said, obviously, you can't. But then they arrived in the UK, and we met them, 52 Ukrainian orphans, and Sebbie gave them their Sebbie teddy and made them feel happy.
I think that is the perfect New Year's resolution for myself, I'm sure Neil as well, and everyone at home, to just be kind, essentially. That is something that everyone can do, and no one really has an excuse not to do. So thank you very much indeed for coming into the studio, Sebbie and his mum, Ashley Hall. Thank you very much indeed.